Okay.
There we go. Awesome. Evening, people. We're just letting them in. So we'll just give people 2 more minutes and then we'll get into it. I don't have intermission music at this point, unfortunately, so I'm sure people don't mind. Oh, Phoebe's singing, but I'm not going to mute her. We're not going to do that. Evening, people. Evening. As we let people in, I think we're just gonna get into it because I know that some of you in like tight schedules, so they're just gonna roll into it, and hopefully people can catch up, watch back, and anything that they've missed so far. So yeah, hi, my name is Jonathan. Welcome to It's Time We Talked. This is our regular discussion that we have once a month. It's always on the last Thursday of the month. It allows us to touch on different subjects. As you've seen, because you're all here today, you must have seen the topic. We're talking about sickle cell and blood conditions. But before we carry on, I'm going to let my co-host Phoebe introduce herself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Fiona, and along with Jonathan, I'm one of the volunteers of 100 Black Men of London, part of the Health and Wellness team. And welcome to this month's It's Time We Talked. Like Jonathan said, where we'll be discussing sickle cell and other blood conditions which affect our community.
Awesome. So with that in mind, we've got some people who are here to essentially give us their perspective on the subject matter because they've got experiences or they work in that field. So instead of me talking on and rabbiting on, I am gonna introduce Oren Lewis and Beverly DeGale from ACLT. Evening, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening. If you could just give us a short brief on who you are, what you do, and why you're here.
So we are the co-founders of the ACLT charity, that's the African Caribbean Leukemia Trust, and our remit is to go into the Black mixed race communities, raise awareness about stem cell donation, which is bone marrow, blood and organ donation. And we also assist patients through diagnosis, treatments, hopefully at the end when it's successful, and sadly, on those occasions when we lose someone.
Yep, so bottom line is we save lives with the help of the community by raising the awareness.
Love that. Is that a strap line? Because
As good as.
And next up we have Samantha Griez. Evening, Samantha.
Greetings everybody.
Evening.
See, my name's Samantha Griez. Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself to the people?
Yes, I can. My name is Samantha Griez, and I am a sickle cell warrior, otherwise known as sickle cell patient. I've been a community volunteer since 1997, and especially in the sickle cell community field. And I am also the founder of the Sickle Cell Care Advocacy Unity Support with Empathy Group, otherwise known as Sickle Cell Cause or SC Cause.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I'm gonna then move on to Rachel Kessiadu.
Yep. Hello. So my name is Rachel Kessiadu. I am a consultant hematologist in one of the bigger London teaching hospitals. My particular area of specialism is sickle cell, hemoglobinopathies within hematology and largely sickle cell anemia. So I work with sickle patients day in, day out. It's my day-to-day job. And thank you for inviting me to speak here.
Awesome. That's actually dope because I've definitely got a question for you later on. Definitely. And then we have got Juliana Akinyoye. I said that right?
You did say that right.
Hey, come on. I've been practicing all day.
My name is Juliana Akinyoye. I'm a sickle cell patient. Yeah, that's it really.
All right, interesting. So yeah, thanks guys for coming. We're just gonna kind of get into it and start talking about what we're here to talk about, I guess. So I'm gonna give you to kick off. I'll just give you sort of like why I'm interested in this as well. So when I was a kid, my best mate at the time had sickle cell, and I remember being Nigerian. You always hear there's parents speak and they say things out loud, and some of the stuff you heard was he's not got many years to live because he's got sickle cell, because obviously he was always ill and we didn't quite understand it. It's like, oh no, this kid's not going to make it past XYZ many years. There was also the thing of, oh, he's a sickler. That's the term we use, right? Back home, they're a sickler, and that just means their lifespan isn't long enough or whatever, limited. You can't marry a sickler is another phrase that you hear a lot. And I guess for me, fast forward to when I was, I think I was about 18 at the time, as a bit of fun and jokes, my mate wanted to go to the local sexual health clinic, right? And he's like, oh, come along with me. I was like, okay, cool, I'll go with you. I'll hold your hand, as it were. Got there and I was like, oh yeah, actually, I don't mind doing one. Like, what's the harm in doing one, like, for banter? That was literally the thing at the time. For banter, we'll do this. And I remember doing the test and then getting a call back and they were like, oh yeah, everything's fine, but I think you need to have a chat with your doctor because we can see that XYZ is not on your records and So I've gone to my GP and he's like, oh, you've got sickle cell trait. And he gives me this pink card, which I still carry around in my wallet. I don't even know what it means at the time anyway. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm having just a temporary freak out because obviously I've heard all the things growing up about sicklers. And I'm like, well, I'm not one of them. I just carry the thing. I guess that's why I'm interested in this, because I think from my perspective, sickle cell isn't spoken about enough to educate us so that we understand how to speak about these things properly in an appropriate way that allows people to be educated and know how to handle themselves and carry themselves. So to kick us off, Dr. Rachel, what is sickle cell? And why should we as Black people care about this condition?
Sickle cell is an inherited blood condition. If and for most inherited typical of most inherited conditions, you need 2 mutated genes to be able to express the condition. So if you have 1 mutated gene, 1 sickle gene, you have sickle cell trait, which is what you describe yourself to be. Most people with sickle cell trait have no complications from having trait at all, although in extremis you may, but that's a slightly separate conversation. If you have sickle cell disease or sickle cell anemia, it means you have 2 mutated genes. The most common type of sickle is where you inherit 2 S genes. But if you inherit an S from one parent plus anything other than A, you will have sickle cell disease, a sickling condition. So I think one of the most confusing things about sickle is because it then lends itself to this term sickler, which I think most people interpret to mean sickly. And it sort of moves on from then, creates a weird hyperbole about what sickle patients are. So sickle cell disease is described as that because it affects the red cells within your blood. When patients have a sickle cell crisis, the red cells within their blood, instead of being a beautiful disc shape, becomes sickle shaped. So the condition literally is talking about a shape. It is not talking about being sickly. The two are not at all related. What happens with sickle cell is when your red cells, the only job they're supposed to do is go to your lungs, get oxygen, take it to your tissues, deliver it to the tissues, pick up carbon dioxide from your tissues, take it back to the lung, get rid of it. So when you do things like run or, I don't know, put lots of effort in, your red cells do that work a lot more. What happens with sickle patients is when their red cells get to the lungs and pick up oxygen, it does it exactly the same as people without sickles red cells do. However, when the red cells get to the tissues and give up the oxygen, then the proteins within their red cells, because of the sickle mutation, start to stick to each other. And that's what causes the red cells to become sickle shaped. And once a red cell is sickle shaped, it can't navigate the blood vessels as well anymore. So they start to stick to the blood vessels, they damage the blood vessels, they block it. And if any, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone on this call has done this at some point before because we all do ridiculous things. You've probably put a plastic band around a finger for reasons unclear, or put something really tight around a wrist. And if you do that and it's too tight and it's on for long enough, that digit becomes a bit painful and a bit swollen. And if you leave it on for a really long time, the pain would get really quite unbearable. So what's happening there is you're stopping blood from getting to that digit. So what happens with sickle patients is once they sickle within a blood vessel, they stop blood from getting to a part of their tissue. That bit of tissue can die off and then they get a massive inflammatory response. It creates a horrendous amount of pain, which is what a painful sickle crisis is. But there are lots of other complications that can go with a condition. There is no one definition of what a sickle patient is. I have sickle patients in my clinic who are diagnosed at age 65, have lived all their lives with zero awareness of having the sickling condition. They had an eye problem, went to see an eye doctor, got referred to me, and then I say to them at age 65, you've got sickle cell. On the other end of the spectrum, we have children age 2 who've had strokes from sickle, and within that spectrum lies the sickling disorder. People can be really well with it, people can be really quite unwell with it, and people manage in between. I think it's, why does it affect our community? All things that affect red cells arise from areas where you have malaria. And areas where you have malaria, you tend to have lots of Black and brown people. So lots of things that affect red cells tend to affect Black and brown people. So if you draw a map of the malaria belts around the world, all the red cell conditions lie within those maps almost exactly. Sickle is an inherited condition. There's nothing people do to get it. Sickle patients are the most educated group of patients you'll come across. They understand their condition, they live with it their whole lives, they know more about it than most medics out there. They manage something that I'm not sure most of us will be able to manage, which is unpredictable pain which interrupts your life, but they are still some of them as highly achieving people you'll come across. And I think it's a real shame that in our community, people still simply think of sickle cell as someone who's sickly and still don't understand it. And this is something intrinsic to us. We need to understand it. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, that was yeah, fantastic. I think you just kind of knocked it out the park with the way you've described it, and you've almost hinted at a few of the questions that I've got as well, like other questions. I think the fact that what kind of resonates with me there is the praise that you give people with the condition. I think as a brilliant segue for us to bring in Samantha and Juliana about your experiences, and from your perspective, what could have been different in helping you, I guess, be more comfortable with and be in a more comfortable place with your diagnosis and people's perspective of the condition.
Okay, first of all, I'd just like to say, Dr. Rachel, thank you for saying what you did, because hardly ever are sickle cell patients recognised for the strengths that we have, and the drive to just do and to continue and to keep. We are often looked at just like weak, sickly people that are just dependent on drugs and medication. So to hear the doctor come out with that is very, very empowering. Well, for me anyway. I was born in the 60s, and I was diagnosed pretty early. Like coming up to 4 years old. My parents knew nothing of sickle cell. It was due to a childhood accident, me and my brother, and had to be rushed to hospital with like bruised ribs and other, and that's where I was diagnosed. My parents were told, because I wasn't healing, they found out that I had this condition that nobody knew about. So this is in like 69, 70, and I just be pig because they didn't know, the doctors didn't know what it was, my parents didn't know. They were advised that I would see 14, 21 at the very most. I'd just like to say at this point that last Thursday, exactly 7 days ago, I had my 55th birthday, so they were wrong, but living like as a child, thank you, living, and going through like school, just the day to day, it was a struggle because the pain, it was just this constant pain, constant tiredness, just trying to get through, and nobody understood what it was, and I was going to die anyway, so they were just keeping me alive, as best they could, and pretty much doctors were the gods, so anything that the doctor said, I think every drug was pushed through the body, not just me, sickle cell patients of my generation. We have stories can tell you, like with our hair falling out, teeth rattling, swollen tongue, can't breathe, because they just tested different drugs for different reasons for sickle cell. We learned that later on, but it was, so they just used us as guinea pigs for drug testing, so we had many operations, well, I did personally, I'll speak for myself, many operations that weren't sickle cell related, but was because of this and after the side effects of these drugs, because of the tests that they were doing for whatever it is that they were testing on. So they just abused our bodies. And this is, I'm talking about the Windrush generation. I'm a child of that, generation. So there was not a caring, because the parents were new here, trusted everything that these doctors said, and they handed over their children for, this type of thing, so going to school, I mean, before even going to school, I just recognized that I was a lot more tired than my siblings. My joints were all swollen and always aching, eyes always yellow, palms, the hands always yellow, and my skin complexion was just a yellow hue. They used to call me Buttercup. My sister used to call me Anchor Butter. Had all different names for me, But there was these signs. Nobody never really related it to sickle cell. Wetting the bed late, that was another thing. Embarrassing as it is, I actually don't even have any embarrassment about saying it now. I'm too old for that, But wetting the bed late, 8, 9, 10, still wetting the bed. People didn't realise it's because our bladder is a lot smaller than, commonly known than others. And then you're encouraged to drink a lot of water, So you're going to wet the bed. I used to dream I was, actually on a toilet. That went on for years. But then you've got like going to school, being slung outside at playtime, dinner time, in the freezing cold, in the snow, because in them days it was like break time and playtime meant get outside. You know, the teachers needed to have their fag in the staff room. They didn't want us hanging around. So it was like, get outside. And you're in the blizzard condition, you know, for the hour or the half an hour waiting, you know, for this break to finish. And that will cause a sickle cell crisis. In and out of hospital every 6 weeks, every 4 to 6 weeks. You know, blood transfusion, exchange transfusions, the different drugs. If you shook me, you know, I'm sure I'd rattle. You know, going for jobs, I could always get a job, but I could never keep the job. That was always an issue. And I was one of those ones that really wanted to do well. You know, I really wanted to, but it was difficult. So that's really how I fell into community work. And that's where I really learned like grassroots, looking after one another. And that's why I founded Sickle Cell Cause, because we're patient led. You know, like without empathy, it's very difficult to get things going. So that's just a bit about me, childhood to now.
Okay, awesome. So Juliana, fast forward a couple of years. I'm going to say a couple. I'm not going to give away the age. Fast forward a couple of years. I'm guessing your experience would have differed slightly because you came further along the track. How, from your perspective, that the care system, what's your experience? And I guess let's focus on where we are today. What do you think could make it better?
Yeah, so my experience has been a range. I feel like in my lifetime, there's been a tremendous change, not only in the way people think about sickle cell, you know, but also in hospital treatments and including the patient. So when I was younger, naturally, it's my parents were the ones that, you know, would have to take me to hospital, but they were always really quick, and I think they were very educated, so they were very quick in recognizing what a sickle cell crisis is. And I think that's something that's very different from Samantha's story. So my parents knew, right, she's got sickle cell crisis, she needs to go to hospital. And I think it's when you go to hospital, you need to use your voice to, unfortunately, tell the doctors sometimes what to do, which isn't ideal, but you do stand, and it also depends on where you are in the country or what country you're in. So I was born in Germany. I came over when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And yeah, it's, you know, there and here, I do find myself in situations where I have to be like, okay, this is my care plan, this is what you need to do. And you do get questions sometimes, and you have to be like, okay, can you call this hospital? They will tell you they've got my files. So in that sense, it's a bit more, you still have to use your voice, but it's a bit more advanced in the sense that something will get done. It's not like nobody knows. Someone will know what you're talking about. The thing I would like to change is the education part. So I find, and I think it's something that needs to kind of start and in primary school and follow up. We all kind of know what to do if somebody has an epilepsy episode. But every time I go into a workplace, every time I have a new workplace, I kind of sit my line manager down and I'm like, right, so I have this condition called sickle cell. This is what's about, and this is what you need to do in the time when I might have a crisis. And they're always never ever have I heard, oh yeah, I know what to do. It's always, oh okay, oh I'll write that down, or I'll put that in your file. But so I think that's a big thing, because I've also had schools approach me to say, what do we do? You know, we have this child that has sickle cell, what do we do in that situation? That wasn't, I've had a friend, and I've also had my son's school saying this, asking me, because they happen to know that I have sickle cell. So there needs to be like an education piece that kind of explains to people who are around people who have sickle cell, and how to navigate and how to help people who have sickle cell when they do fall ill. And also the understanding that, you know, you might see me okay today, and then within the evening, or you might see me great in the morning, and within the evening I'm in hospital and I don't look anything like what I looked like this morning. And it doesn't mean that I'm just going to transform the next morning. You know, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get well. I could estimate, but that's not accurate. I don't know. And I think that's quite hard for employers to understand, because if you've got a cold, you know, you're like, oh, I feel unwell. Usually it takes me 5 days to get better. I'll be back in on Thursday. With a sickle cell crisis, I can say I want to be in on Thursday, but that's not the truth. You know, I might not be there till next week. And yeah, it's just that understanding. And again, like Samantha mentioned, you know, the jaundice, I think that's a big bugbear of mine. Like, I've had people stop me in the street. I've had all sorts, from childhood to adulthood. People are always like, why do you have yellow eyes? Why do you have yellow skin? Oh, what's wrong with you? It's just that, you know, no, I don't, I'm not going to kill you by sitting next to you. I just have sickle cell and I'm sickling and we move on. Yeah, that big piece of, you know, trying to understand that, you know, people who have jaundice in their eyes are not aliens. They just, the most recent one I've had, and this was in the past year, and I think I told Jonathan about this, someone at work asked me, oh, why do you have yellow eyes? Is it because you always have lemon inside your water? It's very ridiculous. And it was just a weird one. So clearly a lot of education needs to be done in that space.
Wow, the lemon in the water and the yellow eyes. Thank you, Juliana, for sharing. And what you touched on there brings me to the next question in regards to, you touched on education. And in regards to education, the next question I'd like to direct to Orin and Beverly from ACLT in regards to the different educational drives and how they work. If you can go into that for us, please.
Yeah, I mean, education is the key to this, whether you're talking to children, adults, in whatever capacity and environment, getting people to understand the need in terms of those who need help and understanding about in terms of sickle cell, those who can provide something that might help in terms of blood donation to assist those who need help is an all-embracing sort of concept that myself and Beverly have been driving for the last 25 years to try and get the community, especially the Black community, to understand and appreciate there's a large cohort of individuals in their community who live day to day with sickle cell, and this is their journey. Understanding about trait, understanding about how blood donations can assist in terms of the quality of life as a sickle cell patient. And so we go out and we raise awareness face to face when in the normal, you know, pre COVID world. And, you know, for the last 16 to 18 months, doing a lot of awareness online, Zoom, MS calls and the like, in terms of trying to get people to understand how easily they can actually assist by a few clicks on their phones to understand and research and appreciate the situation for patients and for those who could be potential donors to assist.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get too involved on the medical side of sickle cell. It's a whole new world to us. ACLT was started because of blood cancers. And so, but we've fallen into sickle cell because of the work that we do with blood donation. And we've met some of the most amazing people who are sickle cell warriors. I smiled when, I think it was Samantha said that she's a sickle cell warrior, because someone said to our PR manager just a couple of days ago, don't refer to us with the term sickle cell disease, refer to us as sickle cell warriors. And that has just stuck with me, although I was actually using the phrase before. this is a new journey that we are on for sickle cell, and we are meeting some amazing people. We're doing some amazing work. And if you don't mind, Jonathan, I'd really just like to ask Samantha and Juliana, we get people to register to give blood so that they can benefit sickle cell patients for transfusions and for blood exchanges. And I just wonder, how much do these blood transfusions and blood exchanges actually benefit you as patients? Because trying to get our community to understand that we have the power within us, especially those of us who are fortunate enough to have the RO subtype blood, which really benefits sickle cell patients. Is our work actually benefiting you?
It is. It is very much so. So that's why I was clapping when I saw on ACLT on the platform, because we know about your works, from jump. We also, like in sickle cell course, we also have drives, and it's continuous throughout the year. Sponsorable. Everywhere we go, we're asking for black blood donations or any, but especially black blood donors, right? But you'll know that like one person in blood can help minimally 3 people. So yes, your work is invaluable. Nobody can say it isn't. Of course it is. Yes, very invaluable. Great works.
And
On a personal level,
Yeah.
on a personal level, I mean, I've had so many blood transfusions, but as I've gotten older, I made a decision to stop, and try to manage my health more holistically. That was a personal decision. I'm still, reliant on the NHS for, and I fall into crisis and that, but I'm not on the amount of drugs, I say drugs, meaning drugs, that I was on daily, every day, to even just get out of bed, and I've realized that the more drugs I was taking, the more I was prescribed different issues. Because as you get older as well, it's not just sickle, so you have like different issues, and everything is another tablet, it's another tablet, the side effects causing other issues. So personally, I've tried to go to a more route, but I stopped taking blood transfusions in the early 2000s, and I've had like 3 because they were emergency, and I had to, and they saved my life. So yes, it's in work, but I do try not to be reliant on them every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks as I was growing up. So I just want to applaud you for your work and thank you.
Oh, thank you. And just to finish
Applaud
up,
you.
yes,
Applaud
definitely.
you.
You guys are the warriors. And just to highlight that for us, I mean, we've been doing blood donation awareness for decades now. And the sickle cell situation has come in within the last couple of years because of key patients that become very well known publicly in terms of their journey. And we can talk about that a bit later on. But for us, it really is a case of escalating the level of respect that's needed for sickle cell patients, so that they are classed as first class individuals in the public perception, not only outside our community, but even more importantly from within our community, because that's missing.
I'm literally shaking my head and shouting yes here, but I'm on mute, so you guys don't need to hear that. But no, I think like you guys are raising some brilliant points around that. And if we circle on, like Samantha's kind of hinted that she's trying to be less reliant. Are there things that people can do to help themselves? So let's sort of, yeah, we're talking about sickle cell, but there are other blood conditions. Is there like nutritional stuff that we can do to help us, or patients can do to help themselves, changing their diet and things like that? Rachel, do you think that's something that people could incorporate into their treatment and stuff like that?
So medical practice has to be evidence-based. So obviously the advice we give in clinic very much has evidence behind it. So I can't quote you any good papers that say this diet or that diet is a better diet for sickle cell, but we all know what a healthy diet constitutes. And I think probably the the main misperception that probably still exists even within the sickle patient community is about the benefits of exercise. So because most sickle patients have a lower exercise capacity, because they're always anemic, unlike you, if they decide to do a 100-meter dash, they've already got X amount of reserve, and then they get really, really short of breath. However, every sickle patient who tries to attempt the 100-meter dash, if they did it every day, the amount they'd be able to achieve over time does get better. So actually, exercise is good. You just have to be prepared for it. You have to hydrate, and you have to rest properly when your body asks you to, but you build your effort tolerance, and it's definitely a benefit. Eating healthy, resting properly, hydrating well are they have huge impact on the sickle condition. Every sickle doctor would tell you June, when their exams on, so when uni students, GCSE, A-level students are not looking after themselves, they're rushing around, not sleeping, not eating, not hydrating, we have an influx of admissions. The weather is one of those slightly funny ones. The evidence in the literature is poor, but all the treating clinicians know that if the weather changes suddenly, our admission rates go up. So definitely cold is not a good thing. I think it's more the change rather than the cold. So if someone goes out into the cold, but they're prepared for it and properly dressed for it, they're fine. But if someone goes out expecting a warm day and then suddenly it gets very cold, that's really not good for sickle. So just, yeah, looking after yourself, focusing on diet, and now more and more patients in clinic want to, look at their health a lot more holistically, and we try to support them as best as we can, but we don't have a huge amount of evidence to advise what's good and what's bad. So most people try things that work for them and then let us know, but that's very much an individual approach. There isn't a cohort approach I can advise.
Awesome.
And I just
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I agree with what Dr. Rachel was saying. It's a very individual journey, but you do have to figure out what works for you. Definitely, I think hydration works for everyone. Hydration is a very, very big one that I've heard anyone who's got sickle cell say, it makes a huge impact. Days when you're dehydrated are just nightmares. So it's better to just keep hydrated, keep on top of it. Diet, definitely. I've made changes in my diet. Nothing extreme, but I just eat healthier in general, and that's helped me feel better. And I think just to eat better and to exercise, and it is a very, very slow journey to push your threshold, but it is worth it. Even if it's a walk, if it's, walking for 10 minutes, I have this group of 2 of my friends, and every day we check in and we say, oh, have you done a bit of activity today? And it doesn't have to be a run. We don't have to go to the gym for an hour. It's just a walk for 10 minutes. But that pushing yourself a little bit helps your general health. I would say, personally, I think that you kind of have to use your doctor as well, as in you have to work with your consultant you do your best, they do their best, they are the specialists in the medicine, and kind of put those two together to kind of get your optimum health. I was very reluctant on certain medications, but speaking to my consultant and them being patient with me as well helped me to kind of accept, okay, I can take these tablets, I can do this, or maybe I can't do this. And I wanted to touch a little bit on the blood donation as well, because that has a really, really huge impact on me. I'm actually one of not many people who, I'm very finicky with, my body is very finicky with blood. So it tends to reject or react to a lot of blood that I've been given. And so now I carry around this little card and it says, I need special blood, because there's certain, I forgot what they're called, but there's certain parts inside the blood that are unique to every person. And the more blood there is, I have actually been in situations where it's like, okay, we can't really find blood that will match you exactly. So like they have to think about alternative ways of treating me, which is not ideal, because that is really, at that time, the best treatment, the fastest treatment that will get me out of a bad situation. But the more people donate blood, the more choice there is. If there's only a certain amount of people who are donating and they all look the same, there's no way that we can find, you know, that you don't have choice, you know, you just don't have the choice. So you have to go with the blood that is best suited to you. And so that's why I always encourage people to donate blood as well, because if I could, I definitely would. So even if it's to help that one person that's somewhere in the corner, somewhere in this country that needs the blood. So yeah, I think you have to look at it in a whole view. It can't just be, I'm just going to take medicine and I'm not going to sleep well, and then you end up in hospital having treatment. You have to take your medicine, you know, stay low stress, exercise, eat well. And it's a lot to juggle with normal life as well. But yeah, that's, for me, you just have to find the right balance. I think there's a right balance for everyone.
Sorry, Jonathan, can I just jump in just quickly? Because I didn't touch on the blood transfusion, which is wrong of me. So first of all, as most people have pointed out, the work that Beverly and Oren do for blood transfusion for sickle patients is invaluable. The reason it's invaluable is that there's something, I think the first time I heard someone say it was actually Oren. He said this phrase, I don't know if he coined it or not, but he said, we keep going on that Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter so much, show it. And one of the ways you can show it is to go and donate blood. And that phrase is not just that. So there are lots of ways in which the differences between different groups we're trying to wipe them out so we're all equal. But in some ways, biologically, we just do differ. And one of the ways we do are on the markers on our red cells. So people of Afro-Caribbean ethnicity will tend to express certain antibodies on their red cells. And if you've got a patient who's from that group, the place where you're most likely to find red cells to match that patient is from that same ethnic group. So it makes a huge difference if you donate blood as a Black or brown person. You make a huge difference to a small population of patients who really need it, because the vast majority of blood donors in the UK are Caucasian and white, and a lot of their blood is absolutely fine. We use it without problems. But when you end up in the situation Juliana is describing, where you start making antibodies, then your donor pool narrows down, and that donor pool almost always is going to consist of your ethnic group. So if you're a donor, grand. If you're not, please become one. Literally 4 times a year, that's it, maximum. And you get biscuits, I think.
Yeah,
I think you sold it. You said biscuits.
I can confirm that.
Can I just say that what Rachel's just said really resonates with myself and Oren, because in the last 2 years of our son Daniel's life, he developed a condition called hemolytic anemia, which is a breakdown of the red blood cells. And he at first needed 1, maybe 2 units of blood a week to kind of get through. He was going to university at the time. He'd literally get up in the morning, either go to University College Hospital, have his units of blood, and then go off to uni, or he'd do it the other way. He'd go to university and then stop at the hospital.
And this is well after he's had his transplant.
This was after his transplant.
He'd had hundreds of blood transfusions throughout his treatment for blood cancer.
But because he waited so long for his stem cell donor, it just created other problems for him. And this hemolytic anemia was one of them. But towards the end of his life, he was requiring 3 to 5 units of blood every week. And the reason we lost him was that the pool of people that they could use to give Dan this blood that he needed every week got smaller and smaller because of the antibodies that he was developing. And we lost him to multiple organ failure. And this is part of the reason why we really stepped up our efforts in the community to get people donating blood, because if Daniel was able to receive well-matched blood, there is a small possibility that he would have gotten through. Yeah. He would have gotten through. But the very fact that at times he would be lying in his hospital bed and his HB levels were hitting 2, and I think Rachel will understand what I mean. He was passing out whilst we were waiting for them to get this well-matched blood that he needed. And it was purely because not enough of us from our community were stepping forward at the time. I mean, there's been huge strides since. We're still not there with the numbers, but it's getting better. And this makes me smile. I would rather have my son back, but I smile because it just makes me appreciate so much when I see Samantha and I see Juliana and the other families that come to us now, and they are starting to get the blood that they need for their exchanges, for their blood transfusions. And I don't hear them talking so much about antibodies. So, you know, it's a long journey and we will get there, but our community, we need to step up because this is on us.
Yeah.
I think you've kind of smashed it.
Can I?
Go on,
I just
Samantha.
it's like this word responsibility. You know, I think it's a word that we really do need to take on as not only as just as Black people but everybody. And self-responsibility is something that, you know, I think it's part. If we want to live, if we want to make things better for ourselves, for anybody, for everybody, we have to take some form of responsibility, and it begins with self, right? Personally, for me, it's like we all know that we're human beings, and human beings come from nature. Therefore, the cure or the help that we need is within nature. You know, yes, we're living in the 21st century, and it's a very fast-paced, quick fix. You know, pop this pill, pop that pill, that will stop the pain. But this stopping of the pain is not, you know, always getting rid of what's in the actual underlying problem. And that's where I believe that we need to focus. You know, when it comes to research and things like that, we need to focus on those things like what is the cause, and find and stopping it from the cause, not just hiding pain or just, you know, a quick fix and just hiding it until the next time, we need to call a halt to the thing. And as long as I remember myself, I've known about sickle cell because I was diagnosed going on 4 years old. You know, and they've always been talking about research. You know, I've been used as a guinea pig. Lots of my peers, a lot of them that would even in our 20s and 30s would take all the different drugs when they were doing testing, and I started to refuse. You know, after the third, like stomach swelling up, or you know, you start to refuse and say, I'm not doing it. You know, and you go down the more holistic route, and you find that you can actually help yourself. Yes, exercise help, yoga, stretching. These things you can do daily. Cut out the fast food, the rubbish. It's not food. You know, they might call it food, but it's not food, right? Eat single, you know, item foods. Like if it's an apple, it's an apple. You know, you don't have to look at the ingredients. You know, try and go organic so you're not taking in all the pesticides. Because all of these things, you know, affect our blood cells and make them stick, and you know, affect the oxygen traveling around our body. So it's like address our diet, stop the white foods, the processed stuff. Forget the dairy and try and cut out the meat, you know, and try and eat from the, you know, from the earth, from nature, because we are nature's beings. The cure is in there. I just wanted to say that.
No worries, thanks for that. I'm gonna bring in Jeff, who is our resident.
Oh, wait there, Jonathan, there is a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the first one I have, this person is saying they have an 8-year-old son who has sickle cell trait. Although he is very active, he sometimes has breathing issues. Does the sickle cell trait contribute to this also? I would say that to Rachel.
Hello. No, it shouldn't do. So if you do the full blood count for someone with sickle cell trait, all else being well, we expect their HB to be within normal limits. So in comparison to the numbers Beverly was describing just then, so in the old days, what we used to call 2, we now call 20. So the normal range for fit, and for children, it does vary, but I think for his age group, it'd be about 120, the lower limit, and his blood level will be in that region, and it should function completely fine. We have only seen problems with people with sickle cell trait, as I mentioned earlier, in extremis. So one of our patients, went to climb some very tall mountains where the oxygen is a bit thinner, and he became our patient because he did that, and then he had a crisis. So if the oxygen levels drop really low, then even trach can be a problem. But at normal sea level, normal flights, it's really not a problem at all.
Okay.
So, Rachel, are you telling me I shouldn't go up Ben Nevis then?
So Ben Nevis is fine. Ben Nevis is not that tall. It's the ranges in Nepal and the Himalayas. They're a bit.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I just wanted to prove
yeah.
someone wrong, because someone told me
no, Ben
not
Nevis
to
is
go
fine.
climbing mountains. They know who they are. Yes,
No,
Juliana.
Ben Nevis is still. I mean, it's about 3,000 or something. It's not that tall.
Exactly. It's like,
not that tall.
yeah, it's like walking up a hill. What are you talking about here?
It takes a bit of time, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I've done Snowdonia, so I'm very well aware of like how long these things take. But yes, I will be doing it. Doctor approved. Thank you very much.
Just to say, if any guests do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll put them out for the panelists to answer for you. Back over to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring in Jeff, because Jeff is like our resident. If you saw the flyer for the event, you'd have seen someone's arm. That's Jeff's arm, because Jeff is our resident blood donor who's always shouting about people donating blood. So Jeff, just why should, as someone who's like just so passionate about it, why are you so passionate about it? And why do you want the rest of us to join you in doing this?
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, Jonathan. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the actual event so far. I'm learning a lot, learn every day. But obviously, as people like Juliana and Samantha have said, things like blood donation is very, very important. I've been a blood donor myself for about probably 7-8 years now. I don't know anybody directly sort of like family wise that suffers with sickle cell or any blood condition per se, but it was something that I'd thought about for a while, something I read up about, and then I realized things like blood donation is very important, because if you do have somebody that needs a blood transfusion or has any kind of blood condition, they can't just go to the local supermarket and go and buy some blood. You can't just go to your local shops and go and buy some blood. They have to rely on the generosity of people within our own community that actually donate and give blood because they're in a position to. So this is something that I've always championed and taken very seriously myself. Like I said, I've been giving blood for about probably 7 or 8 years now. When you do your first sort of 10 blood donations, they send you a little pin and you get a letter saying, thank you for sort of donating this amount of blood. When you go there initially for your blood assessment, they do an assessment, they ask you a variety of questions, health questions, etc. And this is something you can do basically every 12 weeks, which is sort of like every 3 months. So as Dr. Rachel said earlier on, basically you can do it up to 4 times a year. If you have the capacity to do it, I encourage you to do it. I do it as Dr. Rachel said, at the end of your donation. Takes about probably 7 to 8 minutes for some people, maybe up to 10 minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. You get some refreshments, you get your biscuits, you get your penguin, or you get your and a little light liquid refreshment. But it's important because it's something that I think we take for granted. And my blood type, I'm B positive, RO type, which was mentioned earlier on. Very, very high in demand, especially for people with sickle cell and other blood related conditions. So I think when I'd been going for about probably 5 years now, they one of the specialists sat down and spoke to me and said, how would you feel about giving stem cell donations? And I'd never heard of stem cell donations. So they kind of explained it to me and said how, people within my community obviously suffer a lot from a variety of conditions, and being able to donate stem cells as well as blood, if I'm able to, would obviously benefit people that are in need. So I read up about it, and it's something I thought, okay, why not? You're already giving blood. I think sometimes it's more about the education. When people speak to you and make you feel more comfortable with the situation, the better, and you kind of better understand it, the more likely you are to kind of want to give and give freely and not be sort of apprehensive about it. I think we as a people, especially when we talk about things like blood donation or organ donation or whatever it is, we're very skeptical. But the same way that we're skeptical, at the same time, if you had a family member or someone, a loved one that was in dire need of this organ or this blood, you'd be the first to be, you know, mounting a campaign, looking for people to donate and all the rest of it. So why is it that we as individuals don't want to put ourselves in the same position, you know? So sometimes we have to put the shoe on the other foot and really think about, you know, it's all well and good to receive, but what about giving? Everybody loves to receive, but what about giving in the first place, you know? You should be able to kind of be able to give without having to receive first, you know, just like Christmas presents or, you know, whatever, you know? Sometimes what we actually look at is about we as human beings, sometimes, you know, we realize that out there, you know, there's a lot of challenges in life, and sometimes it's good to be kind, as they say, you know, and it's always good to always think about other people other than yourself. Like I said, I don't know anybody directly within my family that's suffered from sickle cell per se, but I'm happy to give my blood knowing that when I do give it, I usually get a letter a couple of weeks later telling me that, oh, your blood's gone to such and such hospital, Whittington Hospital or the Royal Free Hospital, or whichever hospital it is, and how it's been used. And I know it's benefited someone's life in some way. And in some capacity, I've been able to support or help somebody that, you know, has a condition that, you know, affects my community. And even though it doesn't affect me directly, if I can have some sort of way of impacting or helping or changing this, then I'm happy to do so. So that's my testimony in a nutshell. It's just for us to recognize and realize that just because we are not necessarily in that position ourselves, it's very important that we share. And if you can give blood, give blood. Just go up, fill in a questionnaire, you find out a little bit more about it. It doesn't, it's, you know, even if you're scared of needles, it's not that big, you know, it's not that, you know, you'll be really reassured. You know, the nurses that are taking the blood are really reassuring. They answer any questions that you have, any concerns that you have, you know, and really make you feel relaxed and put you at ease. So as a people, my brothers and sisters, I implore you, if you don't already give blood, become a blood donor like myself. It's something very important that we need within the community. And the more of us that can do it and assist our fellow brothers and sisters less unfortunate us or that have these conditions, the easier these journeys become. Because, you know, when people are looking for matches and they're looking for people within the community to match them, it's difficult. And sometimes that family that's in need find it difficult, you know. So if more of us are on board, there's more choices and there's more opportunities, then the more people that will hopefully more lives that we can save. So I'll leave it there, guys. But hopefully my testimony has been informative for some of you guys. And if you have any further questions, feel free to ask them or put them in the chat.
Thank you.
Jeff,
Brother
you're a
Jeff.
star.
Thank you
I just
so
want
much.
to say, Jeff, you're a star.
Yeah, Jeff
Jeff.
has touched on a very interesting point that I wanted to put to Beverly and Oren, and Rachel as well, if you've got a couple of minutes more that we can have you for. Brilliant. Yes. So a while ago, the government changed organ donation to be opt-in by default, right? And as you can imagine, on any subject these days, the WhatsApp groups were popping with all kinds of messages and conspiracy theories on why you shouldn't do it and why you must ring your GP or whoever it was or click on a link. And it was almost like, if you're not doing it, you're really ridiculous because they're harvesting our organs and doing all kinds of madness with it. Why is organ donation important? Firstly, seems obvious, but I think really what can be done to educate people more? Like, how can we, 100 Black men or regular people in the community, get involved in educating people why these things are actually a better step forward, if they are a better step forward?
It's a very, very good question. And it's the same question and theme that relates to why Black people don't give blood, why there aren't enough Black bone marrow stem cell donors. The same thing on organ donation. On all three, there's been generation after generation negative knee-jerk response to stepping forward when the call to arms is done. Now, you know, we spent 25 years trying to, and with other stakeholders, trying to educate our community on this. Jeff has just highlighted the importance of blood donation, but flip it on its head, organ donation, same thing. The knee-jerk response in terms of the WhatsApp groups, social media messages where people will just react in and say, well, it says they're going to harvest my organs, so I'm going to opt out. What that's done is ricocheted almost like a death sentence for many Black organ patients in need of kidneys and livers, where the best match is when it's coming from someone who's ethnically similar to them who's on the organ donor register as a deceased organ donor or even as a living donor. By people opting out, you're reducing the pool of potential lifesavers for those people, just as we've been talking about for sickle cell patients on blood donation. And that's what created this whole situation just over a year ago, or May last year, when the law was changed. The law was changed to make it easier for ethnic minorities, especially Black and South Asians, to find organ donors. Because just as Dr. Kessie said, in terms of Rachel said about, you can get blood from white people and Black people can receive, but the best match is Black to Black.
Especially when you need more than one.
Yes, the same thing happens on organ donation. Those Black and South Asian people who are fortunate to receive an organ transplant are getting it from white people who just happen to match. But if it was a choice between a Black and a white person, for that Black patient, they look at the tissue type, they look at the blood group. And if the tissue type and blood group is pointing to the Black people, which it normally will, they will go Black to Black. But if there's no Black people, they have to go with what's left. And so this whole mindset of lack of education and apathy and it's not my problem, that's still prevalent in our community, which is why we are still by any means necessary doing this work to get people to stop and think, research, and to make informed decisions. And we're talking organ donation now. We've just been talking about blood, the same debate on stem cells, the same debate on COVID-19 vaccines. It's the same cycle. And it's just education and people stopping and thinking, I need to do things for myself and my family and my community. And when it doesn't touch them, it's not my problem until it does touch them. And it's always going to touch one of us.
Yeah, I have to say I support that. There is a slightly odd thing in our community, which I think the last 18 months I've had to face it a bit more realistically. So I think it was your call I was on, Oren and Beverly's, where you were doing an education session about the COVID vaccine. So you had a panel with, I think, about 5 medics, really, immunologists, people who had actively worked on the vaccines on this panel, all sharing, evidence and data on the why. And then one of the people on the call shares a WhatsApp message that he believes, a WhatsApp message that's come via a number of sources. And he absolutely believes that WhatsApp message, and everything else that was said on that panel is completely disregarded. And there is a thing there in our community that I'm not sure how we get around it. So WhatsApp for most people now seems to be providing evidence-based for their healthcare in a way that I'm not sure that medics are equipped and able to fight or are doing it the right way. And it's that same sort of thing, you're right, that affects the thing about organ donation. So I was a bone marrow transplant registrar in 2010. And in my year in that job, I guarantee you that if I did a search for an unmatched unrelated donor for a Caucasian patient, I guarantee you I'll find at least one patient, because we search not only UK databases, we search the US, we search a whole bunch of databases. I guarantee you I'll find a donor for a Caucasian patient. For Black patients, even before I've put the search in, I know what is going to be spewed out. And I know for a fact that the work you two have done has changed that to a degree, but we've still got ways to go. It's still much more difficult for Black and Asian people to find donors for stem cell. And stem cell donation is one of the things that, again, like blood donation, it asks so little of us. You basically go and sit on a machine for 4 hours, walk off, done. And you've saved someone's life, but we still don't do it. Organ donation, I was pleased when the law was changed. And as much as there are WhatsApp messages that will mean people will take themselves off, we probably still are going to be saving more patients' lives with the law as it currently stands than what it was before. We have so many of our sickle patients who end up with renal impairment and need kidney transplants, who you're just heartbroken if they don't have a related family donor. It's so difficult to find a donor off the list. And we need to do better as a community. We need to care for ourselves better.
And also, just to add to that, I'm sure a lot of Black people should know someone in their family or very close a colleague or friend who probably needs a kidney or liver transplant
or needed blood,
or
and maybe know someone distant even who's needed maybe a stem cell transplant.
Yeah, they're one step removed, but they don't seem to realize if we are cohesive as a community, the power of ourselves as a community is there at our fingertips, and we just don't seem to realize the enormity of what we can do. I think socially right now, in the times we're in, this is our opportunity to actually take the lead and say, as you quoted me, Rachel, before, Black Lives Matter. Well, now's the chance to prove it. We can't say one thing and expect others to respect our lives. And if we're not prepared to actually step forward and do it for ourselves, when we are the solution to the problem, we are the only solution to the problem.
Oh, classic talking while on mute there. But no, seriously, thank you guys so much for what you've done so far. But I'm just looking at the questions. Phoebe, we've got some questions here.
Yes,
I think.
I have a question here. It goes back to the lack of education around sickle cell. Somebody wanted to share that they recently did a pediatric first aid course, and they're saying that the sickle cell section was glossed over very quickly. So even though they pressed for more information, they were told nothing about what to do if a child has a sickle cell crisis, or how to understand a health plan. And so the lack of education, sadly, at all levels, which brings me to a question in regards to the NHS, and literally how can the NHS improve its handling of patients? I'll open that up to everyone in the panel. Orin and Beverly, I see you put your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say something before Rachel goes. I think this comes back to something, the most basic lack of respect to sickle cell patients is the fact that there's no free prescriptions for medication. There are many other disorders where it is free, but it's symbolic of the fact the way the disorder is perceived politically, medically, socially. And so that's symbolic of the problem. And it goes back to what was said in the question in terms of the lack of respect, even at the healthcare level. It's sort of, well, we won't talk, we will just take a nudge to it. We won't really discuss it in detail because it doesn't affect the majority, it only affects a small minority. Rachel, I'm sure you can speak even better about it.
So that's one of the good things about the Black Lives Matter movement. The really sad thing in the last years, we've had a couple of tragic cases of sickle patients being mismanaged who've sadly died. But hopefully their deaths are not going to be in vain, because it's highlighted the fact that there's a huge need for education. So if you come to where I work, we do a lot of sickle education. Our A&E department knows about sickle and how to manage it. So most people get through our system okay, it's not problem free. But then in London, same South London, you go to a slightly different trust and you can get ignored for X number of hours. There's definitely issues about race and how people of a certain color are observed within health systems, and people working in health are only just beginning to recognize and understand some, or doing the work to understand some of this. But we've got a long way to go. There is efforts being put into trying to educate better the healthcare professionals. There was an all-parliamentary group that has collected a whole bunch of data, and we're hoping something will come out of it. That collected information from patients as well as healthcare providers, and the hope is that all of this will lead to improvements in care, because what we want is a situation where I don't need to advocate for my patients, because my patients are empowered to advocate for themselves. They can say, this is wrong, we want it made right, and it has to be made right. It doesn't need me to say anything. Well, actually, no one really listens to me. But we do have a long way to go, and the layer of race on health must never be ignored, as we've all discovered in the last couple of years. Even people who think they're not ignoring it are.
Thank you.
I'm really sorry, I have to drop off the call, but if you email me any questions, Jonathan, I'll try to email people back answers. Yeah.
All right, no worries. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so
for
much.
your time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say something with regards to that. Like I'm not sure if anybody here, maybe Beverly and Orin may have heard of Dr. Neville Roy Clare or Neville Clare from back in the day. Anyway, he was the others may know of him. He was the founder of OSCAR, which was the first cell organization in the UK and Europe. And it went on and he founded other groups, and he was the one that encouraged me to set up Sickle Cell Cause. You know, it was running like just before he, so every year in his honor we give a little Oscar trophy to people that go over and above for what they do for the sickle cell community. I'm not sure if you can, read that, but he was a inspiration, to us, and he coined the phrase, the adult sickle cell patient is the expert in the room, because for decades before this point coming up now, like now doctors are saying, patients need to speak up or should speak up for themselves and that. We've been saying that and trying that. We've been doing this from in the 80s, the 90s. Wasn't listened to. Many lives were lost. Many operations happened that didn't need to be, where the patient and they're the doctors, they've got the PhD and the MD, you'll just keep quiet, and as you're the parent of the patient, stop encouraging them to talk. You're not doing them any favors. We are the gods, we know best, but the thing is, as an adult sickle cell patient, you've been living in your body all your life, right? There's nobody out there that can tell you more about your sickle cell condition than you can. You wake up in the morning with it, you go to bed with it, you get through the day with it. It's always there, and so yes, I just want to remind the words of, Dr. Neville Roy Clare, who was a sickle cell patient and the first person to create a support network, in the UK and Europe, and we're still carrying it on in his honour, that the adult sickle cell patient is the expert in the room, and we do need to be listened to. I nearly lost my life in 2015, because of the ignorance of the ego of some of the specialists, especially those that don't know anything about sickle cell. It was with the head, had the operation in the head, but they don't know anything about sickle cell. So because they're the experts and they're specialists, I should be quiet. They nearly took my life, and I don't even like to go visit back there because they tried to have me take more medication, to overcome it. Then I had to go for counselling and all this kind of stuff, because when you keep seeing your life flashing in front of you, you have to do certain things to understand that life is going to come to an end, it's going to go, so calm it down. Don't make it, otherwise you're going to be anxious all the time, always in pain, always through a degree of anxiety and depression, right? And I've seen people take their own life because of the depression of what living with sickle cell can do and everyday things that it goes through. And I say we have to be strong, we have to be warriors, but at the same time, we do have a voice, right? And united we stand, and that's why I appreciate platforms like this, organisations like the ACLT, seeing another fellow sickle cell warrior, younger than myself. I say, yeah, our bodies went through a lot of things so that your bodies don't have to, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to try and disrespect it, because you will always be black, and they say that we have a stronger threshold and things like that. Whether people want to admit it or not is there. We know it, don't have to lie about it. So I just want to say thank you for having me on the platform. I really appreciate this.
No worries. The more we can do to help, and I guess it brings us on the theme of help, because we're talking a lot about blood drives, and we're talking about, people essentially giving. That's the theme we're on at the minute. What can, I guess, to Juliana, as a community, individuals, because yeah, sickle cell warrior, well, you don't have to fight alone, right? Because I remember many times where I've come to see in the hospital, and when I get there, like, I see the flashing red button, and you're like, oh, press the button, and you're waiting for help. And the whole time that I'm there, no one's arrived for help. On the theme of help, what can we do? Like, as someone who knows someone who's got this condition, what can people in the community do to help you so that you're in a more comfortable place, I guess, through this?
I think it's really individual, but I think it's a weird journey. I think as we go through time, it's kind of different. The needs are different for every age group, I would say. I think for someone who's in their 30s, for me, it's a big psychological battle. You know, I go through a lot before I call 999, 911 to come and pick me up, because I don't want to leave my house and things like that. Or I will say I'm going out. Oh yeah, let's go out. That was a classic one. Oh yeah, let's go out. Let's go out. Let's go out always ends up with Juliana in hospital. So I think just checking in with your friends. A big one is checking in with your friends. Visit your friends in hospital. There's this stigma that we have in our community about sickle cell. Like you said at the start, like they're a sickler. I think we need to change that within our generation. You know, I have 2 boys. They both have AS, and it's going to fall upon me to teach them about it. In my experience, I've heard of people that are like that have stopped marriages because the other person has AS. You know, I think there's a big educational piece, and yes, it's not a great idea. First of all, find out what you are. It's not a great idea to get married to someone who's got AS and you have AS, but also know that there are options. You have options, you have education, and don't go into it. I've also had someone say to me, oh, I've got AS. I don't care if they have AS, we'll just deal with it. It's not that simple, because as Dr. Rachel said earlier, you don't know what you're getting. I feel like I got quite lucky. I do have HBSS. However, I live a very normal life day to day. I have children, I have a husband, I go to work every day. I work a 9 to 5. I chose a career within where I can work from home. So yeah, but it's that from the community, it's that change of attitude of, oh my God, they're sick. Oh my God, they've got sickle cell. It's when somebody has cancer, nobody says, oh my days, you can't get married to them. Everyone is like, oh, okay, it's a thing that they deal with and we will deal with it. There's not this yuck that's associated with it. So I think that's a big, big piece of education that we have to fulfill within our generation or within our lifetimes. Yeah, I would say that. And then as a personal friend, Jonathan is a great friend to someone who has sickle cell. He visits me in hospital. He brings me food that I like. He's just there. He will just call to check in on me. Make sure when I go to hospital, I'll go. When I come home, he'll just be like, how are you? Like, it doesn't stop when you get home. When you get home, it's just, you're well enough to be at home, but you're probably not even well enough to go up the stairs. So little things, come and wash up, come and bring a meal, come and just be on the phone, just be on the phone, give some jokes. Yeah, that's it really as a friend.
Again.
I just wanted to jump in because you encouraged that earlier. But also with regards to like people helping people with sickle cell, the groups, there's many support groups dotted about the country. In our support group, we have things like if you're going to be admitted into hospital, let somebody in the support group know, because we know you don't go to hospital by yourself, unable, nobody knowing, that you're being admitted into hospital. You need somebody at the end of the phone, to be able to support you, especially in these COVID times where you can't have somebody actually physically in the hospital with you. But I would say if anybody wants to really support somebody with cell or families, join a sickle cell support group. Look for the one in your area. You can contact sickle cell calls. I did put the email up, and I could signpost you to one that's in your area. But we do cover the entire country, and we're also in Africa on the ground in the Gambia as well. So just go to a support group, and they can tell you how their system works, and how you can actually support a sickle cell patient, a sickle cell family, or the group itself. You may want to just donate a couple of hours a week or a month, or you may want to, get fully involved. You may want to support individual families, because we have like family welfare department, awareness department, different departments, nutrition, everything in sickle cell calls. So, but look for a support group in your area, and that way you can just know how you can support the sickle cell community. Yeah.
Thank you, Samantha, for that. There's a question in the chat that Owen and Beverly have already answered, but would you be happy to share that on the platform? The question is because we're speaking about sickle cell and other blood conditions, and someone's asked about the blood condition thalassemia. They wanted to know what that is, and I know Owen and Beverly have put something in the chat before. If you're happy to share that on the platform as well, so we've all got a better understanding of what thalassemia is.
Yeah, we're not experts in any shape or form, but thalassemia is a very similar blood disorder, similar in many ways to sickle cell. It's mainly found in Asia and the Mediterranean. So you would find a lot of people, say, of Greek or Cypriot, Turkish descent, who you'll find a high prevalence of thalassemia. And as we've highlighted in the chat box, it's linked to the hemoglobin.
We have met Black people
that
have it as well.
Yeah. So as a rule of thumb, you tend to find sickle cell patients tending to be more from a African, sub-Saharan African descent, and to a degree on Asian descent. But thalassemia is more towards different part of the tropical parts of the world, and it is something that affects the hemoglobin, which is the energy cells that the red blood cells carry, and you tend to find those thalassemia patients having lower hemoglobin, and so it creates a problem with their quality of life.
Interesting. I just I think it would be ridiculous for us to invite you guys and not give ACLT a platform, because I think you guys do great work. I remember doing I didn't do it, but I got a bunch of people to do the ACLT 5K runs a couple of years in a row. I'm great at organizing people, but not great at running. So just shoot me the dates and I'll get you a bunch of people to come and run. But could you tell us, because you've been doing a run for a couple of years and you've been doing all this work for a long time now, for you, what does the best place scenario, what's the end goal that you think would be a fantastic place where you can say, you know what, this is ACLT has achieved this job?
It's a very good question.
We always talk about what would the situation be for us to sail off into the sunset and just kind of sell up everything here and go and find ourselves on a beach somewhere and just get on with life. I always say the day that Black people start thinking about, for example, giving blood as that trip that they make in their lunch hour and not even think about it, just go and do it, then I think we can say we've ticked a box. The day that doctors can look at the stem cell register and say, oh, Mrs. De Gale, we found 2-3 donors for your son, Johnny. We're going to check all of them to see which one is the best match. Not which one is a match, but which one is the best match. And for all the patients that we work with who need organ transplants, and some of them we've been speaking with for too many years, go into the hospital 3 times a week to sit on dialysis machines for 5 hours each time, can't go on holidays with their families. For the doctors to be able to say, we've got a level parity with the white British community, in that when you need a kidney transplant, they literally wait months rather than sitting and waiting for years. Then we can say that we've achieved our goal.
Yeah, for us, it's really a case of wanting to pass the baton on to younger generations. We want to leave a long-term legacy for younger generations to say, Daniel, Beverly, Oren, and the ACLT left a body of work which the society at large, but the Black community in particular, can benefit from, so that many more lives can be saved at a faster rate. This is all linked to time, the lack of time that patients have before they find that solution. We want to reduce that time so that, as we found with Daniel, 6 years to find a donor. No,
but that was right at the beginning.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like that for anyone else. Yeah. So we don't want anyone to go through what we went through as a family, as parents. So we want to carry on with these blood drives, organ donation awareness, online, offline, at concerts and comedy shows and parks, and with the help of 100 Black men and all the other stakeholders using their education models to put the serious health tip to the younger generation so they can all learn. So this is not about us. This is about sharing this knowledge that's out there that the community haven't really grasped enough, because it's in our hands. And so you're talking about campaigns. We just finished a great campaign called United by Blood to do with Evan Nathan Smith, the young man who ended up dialing 999 to try and get help
from his hospital
bed, which he didn't get. He didn't get blood transfusions on time. He didn't even get his oxygen. And so we worked with his parents. We did a fantastic set of drives up and down the country back in the middle of June, where it was actually in yesterday's independent paper saying it was the biggest footfall of Black people giving blood in one day since 1999. And so we are now working with Richard Okoroge's mum, Evidence Joe. We're working with his mum because, as you know, Richard was a sickle cell patient, shielding under lockdown, and a tragic end to his life. But his mum wants to do something similar in his name, in his legacy. So we're working with her and her foundation and a few other stakeholders. At the back end of September, leading into Black History Month, October, a series of drives called Bonded by Blood, A Mother's Story. And it's all about mothers. So Evidence, Beverly, and others, they're all coming together around the country, Black mothers whose children have needed blood, still need blood, to show that, we as a community need to work harder, faster to try and save more lives. And that's part of these drives. So we can get more people like Jeff thinking it's a no-brainer. Let's go out and do this for ourselves.
Amazing. Someone wants to know when the next ACLT 5K is.
Good question.
It will be May next year.
Yeah.
They're always in May. In fact, since COVID, we've not brought everyone together at the Rockwell Park in Brixton, which is probably what you're familiar with, Jonathan. So this year we did a virtual run. So people all signed up and they did the runs in their local parks, running fields, at home on their running machines, whatever best suited them. But next year, all going well, fingers crossed, we'll be back at Rockwell Park.
Yeah.
So I'm going to paraphrase here. But what Beverly is essentially saying is, between now and May, if you still feel like doing a 5K run, just set up a Just Giving page for ACLT.
Well,
and all proceeds go to them.
Well, remember, Jonathan, when we did it with you guys, we set up some joint stuff, right? So people are raising money for you as well. And that's, if people are listening in on 100 Black Men, they may want to do that.
Hey, I'm always shouting donate, donate, donate. So I like the sound of that. So people, if you're listening in, if you're watching this back on YouTube later when we put it up, if you want to run, if you're that kind of person and you love running and you don't want to wait till May 20, it's so far away, I don't even know what year it is. Why don't you do it right now? Just get your shoes out,
go for a run.
The streets, as they say, go for a run. And if you like cycling, I'm going to put a challenge out. If you like cycling and I can get 5 people who are interested, I will do a ride with you for ACLT and the 100 Black Men of London. I'm just putting that out there. 5 people. I just need 5 people and we'll do a bike ride. So I need.
And if you want to be inspired, watch the Olympics on TV. It's so inspiring.
Yeah,
awesome. Love that.
And the athletics starts, I think, tomorrow. So there's no excuse to not think about that. Someone's just said just now, putting on their trainers, and it's about utilizing this freedom that we've now been given to go out and express ourselves in the public domain. So going to your park, do your park runs and whatever, start training. It's getting healthy, and staying healthy.
I think Jeff is interested. Jeff has been smiling for a while. I think Jeff is interested.
I think Jeff's frozen.
Don't tell him I said that when it comes back on.
No, I was reading a message, brother. I was reading a message. It's all good. It's all good. I did actually take part in the last 2 ACL2 runs at Brockwood, Jonathan. That was co-organized. I was there, us and the rest of the team. So they were fantastic events. I think we had probably about 20 to 30 members and volunteers and parents that all came down. And they were great. I think back in 2019 and 2018. So looking forward to the next one.
Right.
I
would definitely be a part of
next year. It'll be on our website.
And also, please take advantage of the link that I put in on the chat box. If anyone wants to go and give blood, it's a long title, but just click on it. It takes you straight to the blood page where you can just fill in your details and let's start the process of registering as a blood donor. And when NHS Blood and Transplant see that link, they will realize it's coming via ACLT, so they can actually track it back to this event. So it's please take advantage of it and spread that, send it around to as many people, because it makes a difference. We've heard from Samantha and Juliana and others how important this is as an option in terms of quality of life.
Love it. I guess I'm just gonna. So Samantha, you've mentioned the sickle cell support groups, right? I think you called SCS. I'm muddling through what you called it. I'm trying to read it through the chat. Yeah, sickle cell cause support groups. With those groups, can I join the group? Can I help someone who's support other people who've got sickle cell, even though I don't have it at all? And what's the commitment? Because I like, we're 100 Black Men of London. I like telling people to join us, but I also like telling people be committed when you join something so that you can actually give something into it. So what's the commitment for someone like me who wants to join your group, and what's the expectation?
Okay, right, you can join the group. You can be a sickle cell patient or have a family member, that's a sickle cell warrior, and you just want to support, and whenever, however, you have like application forms for volunteering, and there is always a commitment that you will say, like, but you're asked. We don't dictate your time. You're giving us your free time. Nobody's paid in our organisation. All of our money from the community. We're not a government body, and we don't receive funding from the government, and we never will, because that's how we set up and that's how we intend to remain, because we are also we're an action and advocacy group. So like, we just fought for our centre, our sickle cell centre that they had taken from us, or tried to, and we held on to it and fought tooth and nail, and they had to give it back to us because they were trying to snatch something that was purposely built for us in 1980, opened in 1989 for the sickle cell and thalassemia community. It was the first centre opened, and it's the last remaining. And then they're trying to take that so that we have nothing. So we fought them and we won it, and we wouldn't have done that without the help of our community, So we had to go to Parliament, fighting everywhere. So we're not just like for pain. It's about awareness, advocacy. Rights are rights. Prescriptions, things like that. So commitment is like there is a form filling if you want to join like our advocacy department, awareness, nutrition, whichever department, family welfare that you decide, and you would say what days you can do and how many hours. It's totally up to you. If you email sicklecellcourse@gmail.com, say what it is that you're requesting, whether it's support for yourself or others, or if you want to support us, just let that be known, and you'll be answered within 48 hours usually.
We've got a question here. Someone's just asked, what's the difference between alpha thalassemia and thalassemia? I think I'm gonna have to put that question to Dr. Kessie to, yes, Dr. Kessie will give me an answer and I'll send that back out to the people who have asked that question. I guess, seeing as we're giving everyone an opportunity to talk about who they are, what they do, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the 100 Black Men of London, who we are, what we do. We are a community group, and our focus is on building our community in different facets. So this experience is an experience of our health and wellness pillar, which is focused on health and wellness in a holistic way. So there's the medical stuff, medical conditions that we talk about, different ones every month, once a month, we talk about these different things, but we also focus on mental well-being, because it's not just about what's happening in your body, but it's also what's happening in your mind. Even though the mind is a part of the body. I'm getting off piece now. But yeah, we look at it from a holistic approach, because we're always fighting for a cause somewhere, but how are we looking after ourselves? What are we doing to help ourselves, whether that's our diet, whether that's our lifestyle choices, whether that's just needing therapy, having someone to talk to in a safe space. So we do all these kind of events over time. We also focus on leadership as one of our pillars as well, education and leadership. And that's educating our community on different issues. So tonight has had an educational tinge to it, having people who have experience and expertise in that field, talking about the different things, the subject matter. On that front also, we do education drives with young people, and we do education drives around finances and businesses and business leaders and helping them grow their business. So we have different initiatives coming out of that pillar. Another pillar is mentoring, which is probably the one that most people have heard about us for. We have a mentoring program called CMP. It's on a break at this point in the year. It follows the school year. So we'll be starting the next cohort in September, October. Look out for those dates. But if you've got young people, send them down. And it's not just about them, it's about you also. So if you're sending a young person, I'll expect to see you there too. The idea is to help young people learn life skills around self-identity, life skills around financial management. You think, oh, well, the young person needs to know that. I wish I knew that and I was taught that in school. We're teaching them about how to handle themselves with authority, public speaking, goal setting. We're essentially helping young people get the life skills that they wouldn't get in school, but would help them become better at whatever they apply themselves to, right? So they can be leaders in whatever sphere of life they go into. And that's really the 100 Black Men of London. That's who we are. We care. That's why we do what we do. And we don't just care, we back it by our actions, and we partner with great organizations like ACLT. This is Samantha's second time appearing on a discussion with us. So there are other great organizations in the community doing great work. And I really love it when we all partner, because we're all trying to achieve the same thing, right? As the phrases, Oren's phrase is now spreading out there, I'll continue trying to spread it. You know, if Black lives really do matter, we can't expect other people to care about us if we don't care about ourselves. And that's essentially the crux of what we do, caring about ourselves, uplifting ourselves, and pushing ourselves forward so that we can be and do better. So yeah, that's 100 Black Men of London. We also love people joining us. We need people to do this. We are volunteers, members. So yeah, if you are interested in joining the 100, please hit us up. The link's on our Instagram page. Yes, it's on our Instagram page, in our bio. Someone can post a link in the chat. There's a few hundred logos in there, as you can see. So I'm sure someone's going to post a link in a sec quickly. But yeah, if you're interested in joining us, if you're interested in bringing a young person down, if you're interested in partnering with us and supporting us, whatever which way that looks like, I'm always asking people to donate. Donations isn't just about money. The biggest donation anyone can give to anything is time, right? Because that's where the value really is. Because when you give your time, we'll hopefully get results in whatever it is that we're doing, and it allows us to go faster and go bigger. So yeah, that is us. I'm gonna, just a bit early, but I'm gonna bring this to a close now, and I'm gonna say thank you so much to all the people who've spoken so far, contributed, asked questions. Thank you to Samantha Griez. Thank you to Juliana Akinyoye. Smashed it again. Thank you to Oren and Beverly from ACLT. Thank you, Brother Jeff, for contributing. Fiona, thank you so much for helping us through this. Thank you to everyone who's turned up and listened in. We're going to try and get this back up on YouTube, so you can please not just attend, but once we put it back up and we shout about it, please share it with people. I really selfishly, passionately care about this subject and want everyone to be better educated so that everyone can contribute in the best way they can towards helping people live a better situation trying to fight this condition. So thank you very much and good night.
Before we go, thank you, Jonathan. And as I like to reiterate what Jonathan said, thank you so much for the panelists, for sharing your time and your testimonies. It's very, very much appreciated, and we value each and every one of you. On the back of what Jonathan said in regards to what 100 Black Men of London do, we have a few events coming up, and this Saturday, we will be at the Jerk Cookout at the Horniman Museum. So this Saturday, if you're not doing anything, come along and you will see us there. Also next month, the Health and Wellness team, we're actually doing a family fun day on Saturday, the 14th of August, taking place at Hyde Park. So that's literally family. So from children to adults. So there was something from anything for the young ones. And also last year, we had soca aerobics, we had rounders, we had football, we had archery, we had a number of things. So if you're free on August the 14th, I know the weather will be great. I'm saying that, and I know it will be. I'm affirming the weather will be great on August the 14th. Come down with your family, bring a picnic, and just make it a lovely family day. And also, as Jonathan mentioned, we do these talks. It's time we talked every month, and the next one will be the last Thursday in August, and that date is, what is that date? Where's my calendar? That date will be August the 26th, and the talk on that day will be around women's mental health. So food, mood, and just getting ourselves back in the groove. But as Jonathan said, thank you so much for everybody, the guests for joining, and the panelists for your time. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Just off the back of that, Fiona, people, guests, both of these events are community events. It's an opportunity to get to know more about the 100 and what we do. I know Jonathan did mention a few of the programs and workshops that we run, but if you come out to, for instance, the Family Fun Day, we'll probably have like a little stall or table set up. We'll have flyers, so you'll be able to learn a lot more about what we do and how you might contribute as well, whether that be as a volunteer or as a member, as a mentor for our young people, or maybe in terms of providing resources. So that might be spaces that we can use, or any kind of resources we can use with regards to running our programs or workshops. So it's a good idea. It's a good opportunity, sorry, to get to know us on a more kind of personal level. Come down, as Fiona mentioned, bring your family, bring your kids, meet the mentors, meet the various members of organizations that give up their time, because we're passionate about what we do, because we want to make a difference within our community. We want to make a difference within society. And the only way we do this is from us, as it's been mentioned several times. We don't need to look to any other sort of race or creed out there. It's down to us as Black people, as a community, as African brothers and sisters, to look out for one another. So we need to share the knowledge and the expertise we have with regards to whether it be economic empowerment or health and well-being or mentoring or education. So many different areas where we can support and build each other up. So please do come down to the Family Fun Day on the 14th of August. As Fiona mentioned, it'll be Central London, Hyde Park. Bring your picnic blankets, your chairs, some food. The weather's going to be fantastic. We've already affirmed that. So we're putting out more positive energy. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be hot. So come down, meet the organization, get to know more about the 100 and the work we do and how you might get involved, how you might contribute. We look forward to seeing you guys. So enjoy the rest of your evening, family. And everybody, take care. Salute.
Yeah.
Over to you, Jono.
Yeah, I'm just winding down the room. So yeah, thank you, people. Have a good evening. Laters.